So I've always liked when other YouTubers, do a quick bookshelf tour. My bookshelf kind of grew based on the inspiration of seeing other people's. I think what I have at no other bookshelf. Welcome back to the Muscle Code YouTube channel. This will be a standalone video, kind of reserved for people who just need more Game of Thrones content. They just want to. They're still waiting for Winds of Winter. They need more Game of Thrones, The Song of Ice and Fire content. So, as a huge Game of Thrones fan, I'm going to put together my top 5, ranked the 5 books in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. And I think it's just fun to see, why I put books into certain places. And I think the moral of this video is there's no right answer. I mean, you could take 10 big fans of this series and they would have different top 5. So let's give a quick rundown of my top 5 and why. I'll start number 5, so 5 to 1, 1 being the best. I have A Dance with Dragons. It's definitely a little bit too long for my liking. On my rereads, it's always my least favorite book of the 5. The sellswords lost me. When he got into the different sellsword companies, it lost me there. It got a little bit too, too detailed with them. I don't know if he calls it the Myronese knot, but I think he just lost control of the plot. Just like a little. I still love the books. I still like it, but I think he just lost control of the plot a little bit with the sellswords out there and Meereen, and a little bit too many cliffhangers. It's kind of like, at this point it's like, I'm kind of over cliffhangers just in general. So I have Dance with Dragons as number 5. Number 4, Feast for Crows. I did a whole video on it, and I kind of chose different versions of the books to make it somewhat interesting. This is like a leather-bound Barnes & Noble, actually Bantam, but I did a whole video on Feast for Crows. It's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. I like the length. I like how it's a little bit different than the others, in my opinion. I like the Dorne. I like the Dorne and the Ironborn side stories, and it's just a guilty pleasure. I always like, when I get to it, and I think it fits nice as a nice complete book. So it's my solid number 4. And now we get into top 3, where these are really close. It's, what separates 3 from 2, 2 from 1 is very slim, but I had to come up with some reason. So, as a surprise to some, I have Storm of Swords as my number 3. Now, these have this book, if 80% of people, this is their number 1 book in the series. A lot of the iconic moments from the show are in this book. I just thought there was a little bit too much time wandering in the Riverlands, and Beyond the Wall. Even though I love it, it does to me got a little dull after a while. Beyond the Wall. So the combination of too much wandering in the Riverlands plus Beyond the Wall not being my absolute favorite setting, lands A Storm of Swords at number 3, and then number 2. Just beats out Storm of Swords because I think it's a more solid book, a more solid novel, and as a whole, and it's the landmark. It's the foundational book. It's the first one. Is Game of Thrones. I love. I know it sounds corny, but the honesty is my policy. I just love how this book opens. Like every once in a while, if I'm in like a store and I see it, and I'll read like the first couple pages. I mean, just like way more like the Waymore Royce character. He's in it for like 1 chapter, and just I like the Royce family. The Royce family is my favorite family in the Game of Thrones. And I know George R. R. Martin once said, like, what surprises you about your fans? And he said, it's like when fans have a favorite character who's in it for like 1 scene. It's like someone said their favorite character was Blackwood, Lord Blackwood, with his sable, crow cloak. And I can see what he's saying. I like that character too. So the Royce family is just my favorite family. I love how Game of Thrones starts. I love how it ends with the dragons hatching I think it's one of the stronger endings of the 5 novels. So Game of Thrones number 2, and then number 1 is A Clash of Kings. The Battle of the Blackwater is my favorite battle. It's my favorite, one of my favorite scenes. I just like how the war came together amongst the 5 kings. It has this. It seemed inevitable. Like there was nothing to stop it. I mean, there's wars in real life, obviously, and sometimes it's inevitable. And it's sad to say it's inevitable. And I think he nailed it about how the 5 factions, the 5 kings, the pros and cons of each side's motivations, and it just showed that there was almost nothing that could be done. A war was happening, and then he filtered in all the personalities into that, and it's just my favorite. It's my favorite book of the 5, and I love how it starts on Dragonstone. I love Melisandre and the Lord of the Light. That whole sub story. So it basically comes down to, I like how everything led to the Battle of the Blackwater for the most part, and that epic battle, and then the fallout from that. It just seemed like a solid standalone novel in and of itself, and it's my number 2. It's my number 1 top A Song of Ice and Fire book. So there's some more content if you're just waiting for Winds of Winter. And we'll be moving our studio soon, because we're actually moving to a new apartment, new condo. But I just wanted to show, and I'll be getting a new bookshelf. And I like to say I'm going to be getting a mahogany bookshelf, so I'm going to be getting like a top of the line. But to remember this before we break it down, my wife Jessie drew a nice, is it watercolor? Acrylic painting. So to always remember it, it's kind of cool. It's like not perfect lines, so it looks melted a little bit. So I kind of like it. So to always remember this set. So there you have it. Look forward to the next studio or set, whatever you want to call it. And hope to see you back. And thanks for stopping by. So I've always liked when other YouTubers, do a quick bookshelf tour. My bookshelf kind of grew based on the inspiration of seeing other people's. I think what I have that no other bookshelf